What's up, world? It's your boy Thomas Schmaverick, and I'm just coming in to talk to you guys about another occurrence to me that solidifies to me something that I always say about LeBron. Okay? So, I feel like this. Another person who's supposed to come step up and take the mantle that has been crushed by it, right? No, let me explain what I mean. You know what I mean? Prayers up to, to Jason Tatum. Amazing player. But I think Jason Tatum is dealing with a curse, a thing that was started with LeBron James, and now I think at this point, at this juncture, there is no way to live up to the expectations that LeBron created, right? And then let me explain that, right? Jordan fanatics made it so hard for LeBron that it almost makes it impossible for everybody else. And let me explain what I mean. When they were making the rules, right, to say you have to do this to be better than Jordan, I don't think a lot of these guys truly thought about the standard they were creating, right? Because it was solely created to keep LeBron down, right? So you have to be all these things. You have to live up to all these things so that you can surpass Michael Jordan. Why? Because they're saying LeBron did all these things and you never can surpass Michael Jordan. So if you can't even do this, then therefore you solidify Michael Jordan. So in a way, they've used LeBron James to try to make Michael Jordan unattainable, which obviously didn't work. And people to this day still think that LeBron is a greater player than Michael Jordan. I mean, I would say more people. I've come across more people who believe LeBron is better than Michael Jordan is better. So I think slowly as people age up, less and less people will say Michael Jordan, and more people will say LeBron James. But regardless of that, as for right now, they created such a lofty standard that it's going to be hard for anybody to match it. What do I mean by that? Meaning, you have to be clutch. You have to be great. You have to not just be great. You have to be beyond reproach. Meaning, you have to be able to shoot three. You got, like I told people before, living up to Jordan's expectation is going to be a walk in the park in comparison to trying to live up to LeBron's. Like, you cannot live up to LeBron's. So if anybody believes that LeBron James is the greatest player to ever play the game, you have little to no recourse to change their opinion about that. Like, you can't. You're not going to be able to say, hey, I thought this, but after watching it, he does this better, or he does that better. Because there's nothing, right? LeBron is top 5 assists, points. We can go over the stats. Most clutch points, most points in playoffs, most wins in the play. I mean, you just go on and on and on with the records LeBron has. And let's go down the line, right? Going back, right? Once LeBron went into his prime, about after his time in Miami, he tried to figure out who tried to live up, right? First was Steph Curry. He won the 1-1, and everybody was saying it was his league now, and this, that, and the third. It didn't go well for Steph Curry. He ended up losing to LeBron, having a complete meltdown in the in the championship game when he was throwing stuff at throwing stuff, and his wife was on Twitter talking about the NBA's cheating him and all this, that, and the third. That was stuff, and he ended up just saying, I don't really want that. So they ended up passing the baton to Kevin Durant. By all accounts, Kevin Durant stepped in, and he's always gotten, before that whole move to Golden State, you would say the vast majority of Kevin Durant's media coverage has always been positive. Before that, then after that, it kind of just torpedoed, right? And he kind of torpedoed with it. He could not deal with the negative coverage, constantly talking about him all the time. He created fake accounts, started attacking people, this, that, and the third. It's not a mantle, right? It's a very hard mantle to take up, LeBron's mantle, right? So once he could make the argument, he surpassed LeBron, and people started to see him as the top player. Yeah, that didn't go well. He starts, losing it on people, calling people names, just completely freaked out. Yelling at teammates and him getting in fights. It was just bad, right? You tell Kevin Durant, like, I don't want this shit, take it. Just like Steph before him, like, I don't want this shit, get it, KD. KD got it, I don't want it. We'll pass him, right? It created this great rivalry, but it was LeBron James against whoever was the best player on the Warriors, and generally it ended with people saying, like, I don't want this title. I don't want to really have to deal with any of the things that are attached to this title. And after Kevin Durant, it kind of floundered a little bit. Then it went to Giannis, right? Again, I think Giannis did an okay job. Definitely, but once again, you get to a point where they're asking these questions constantly. They're saying, you're this, you're supposed to do this, and he flops in the playoffs, and he's terrible in the playoffs, and it got to a point when you tell Giannis was like, I don't want this, but first with KD, ended up with that situation. He didn't want to live up to it. They kind of pressured him. He got hurt, and then he was like, oh, they're talking mess about me, so I'm going to go back and show them that I can do this. And ACL injury, right? After that, it moved on to Giannis. Same deal. He got a bunch of injuries happened with the Golden State Warriors. He ended up winning the championship. But after that, it's like one championship ain't enough. You're gonna have to consistently, at very least, consistently make it to the NBA Finals. Meaning, you're gonna have to make it to the NBA. And Lamar made it down 11 straight times. So that means every championship game for 11 years straight, he was the guy in the championship game. Can you do that? One. He got to one. Next year, couldn't make it back. Overrated. His championship didn't mean anything. He just that and the third. Giannis ain't on the level. All of a sudden, Giannis is bowed. I don't know if he bowed out, but they kind of just took the leash off of him, right? Not mention he was losing and getting arguments with reporters and fights with reporters and going back and forth. Getting coaches fired. That didn't work out. Just not a good thing. Then he moved on to Joker, right? And he got his one championship and deal with people saying he don't play no defense, and so he was like kind of like thrown into the situation where people would just like you're not going to be on. You're not on nobody's Mount Rushmore, and you don't have. There's not a high likelihood you're going to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore. Rushmore. There's a good guy who's playing pretty good right now, and the guy who wants the mantle. He's getting into it with reporters and stuff like that. But I think Jokic is a good player, just like Giannis is a good player. But they only had the mantle for a short amount of time because they didn't have the box office pull as LeBron. They didn't have and obviously their resumes weren't good. He won one, couldn't get back, and now they're kind of looking at him like you're not you're not the guy. Then he went on to Jason Tatum. No, I'm sorry. Then he went to Ja Morant. That ship sank before it ever made it off the dock. Anthony Edwards kind of strummed along and kind of was giving it when he had his good run 2 years ago. That didn't sustain. Next year, he kind of lost. He lost to I don't know if he lost to LeBron him, or I think he lost to LeBron him last year. It's like you kind of just, Jordan fans only want you to do better than LeBron. So most of them only become the next Jordan because they beat LeBron, right? Steph was challenging LeBron, so the Jordan fans jumped on that bandwagon. KD was beating LeBron, so the Jordan fans jumped on that bandwagon. Giannis started being in rival with LeBron as the best player in the league, so everybody started to jump on that one. Again, Jokic beat LeBron, so everybody jumped on that bandwagon. So they're all only where they are in association with LeBron. And the minute that they're not better at LeBron, the Jordan fans turn on them and start saying they suck and they never were that good. And no, you can't compare you can't compare these players to LeBron because they're this, that, and the third, because they didn't live up to the standards they said LeBron had to live up to be as good as Jordan. So therefore, now that they're living up to standards they're not living up to standards that nobody can live up to, because nobody's going to be able to have a career like LeBron. You have just essentially made it so everybody has to do it. Then it got around, and now we're at Jason Tatum, and he was in that situation. They won the championship last year. Jason Tatum's the guy now. He's the guy, and he's going to be that's weighty, lofty expectations. You gotta be an Iron Man, playing in every single game. You have to hit every single shot, every single clutch shot, because unlike Jordan and Kobe, when nobody was really paying attention to those two things when those two were there. So nobody said you're clutch because they didn't start saying the clutch thing until LeBron, because they needed to say Jordan was better than LeBron at something. So every time they need to find something to say that Jordan's better than LeBron at, all of a sudden no, you gotta be able to hit clutch shots. So now in real time, every time there's a shot that needs to be made, they gotta make it. Right? They gotta be the top. They gotta be able to guard the top person on defense. Now, mind you, Jordan never did this, but LeBron did. So now you gotta do it. So not only do you have to do everything Jordan did, but now you gotta do everything everything they perceived Jordan did, which is a lie. But the stuff that they perceived Jordan did, and you gotta do the things LeBron did. So at the end of the day, you made it so lofty that these guys are not going to be able to live up to it. This whole idea that the guys from the 90s were Iron Man and they played. Okay, first and foremost, the game, you guys believe the game was physical. So therefore, this is that it makes no sense for these guys to not play as many games as those guys play. Okay, let me explain something to you people, because you clearly don't understand how fitness works. Okay, the people nowadays run up and down the court way more than they did back then. Back then, it was mostly half-court offenses where people came down everybody kind of stood in their spot, and then they have one guy who's generally the point guard or the shooting guard, but mostly the point guard's job was to get the ball to the shooting guard and let the shooting guard do his thing. But the three was there, the literal three, the forward, their job, small forward's job, was to post up on the 3-point line. When the point guard or the shooting guard condensed, now you pass it out to them. Their job was to just essentially shoot threes and guard the top player on defense. So Their job was not to score, right? The two guys' job it was to score was the two guard and the center, right? The center's job was to roll to the basket, to get the rebounds, clean up the boards, and put the ball back up. That was their job. That's why the majority of teams, the leading scorer was the center. The point guard generally got the assists. The shooting guard generally scored in a multitude of ways, but he was really the only ISO heavy player on the team. Everybody else was mostly playing within the offense. The triangle kind of came along and changed it, but people try to say Michael Jordan was Scottie Pippen was the eye, the top in the triangle. He was the guy who distributed. Michael Jordan didn't really run though. He just they ran the triangle offense to try to make Michael Jordan pass. He still didn't pass, so they ended up having to institute Pippen into that space, and Pippen became the person that did the distributing, not Jordan. So the idea that Jordan was somehow a master of the triangle offense is retarded. They didn't run a traditional triangle offense with Jordan. Jordan still just took the lion's share of the shots, and he still didn't pass that much. So the whole purpose of triangle, Jordan defeated because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But regardless of that, the point is that's just for the people who try to bring up the fact that Pippen, during the playoff run, Pippen only scored 10 points. It's like, dude, stop. He averaged 10 points. Yeah, well, how many shots did he average? I guarantee you he only averaged about 4 or 5 shots. I guarantee you Michael Jordan by himself averaged more shots than all the other 4 starters on his team combined. That's not on them. Their job is to try to do what they can do. But when you got a guy who is a black hole, that if you pass him the ball is not coming back to you, there's nothing you can really do about that. You can only score. You can only score so much. I say and it's about in Pippen in Jordan's first playoffs. Yeah, that's why Jordan tried to give him the ball later on in his career, because he started during the regular season he didn't get Pippen the ball. He always would wait until the playoffs. When the playoffs came around, that's all of a sudden when you see Scottie Pippen get the ball more. Why? Because he knew he needed Scottie Pippen. So now he tried to do it against the Knicks and against the Pistons without Pippen, and they beat his ass. So after a while, he was like, okay, this is not working. I'm going to have to figure out something. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't his weightlifting program. He started to get a ball up to Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen more. So therefore, they couldn't just key on him and just hit him. So after they got to a point where the abuse got spread around because he really didn't like taking it in the playoffs. They became better players. After they became better players, it really just came down to a thing of the playoff versus the regular season. So I think in that situation, they ended up putting themselves in a position where it was really not a debate anymore. About whether or not Jordan was the best, because after he decided, I'm going to split up these carries and I'm going to do more. I'm going to do less in the playoffs and kind of let my teammates carry the heavyweight in the playoffs. Now we can kind of switch. We can kind of change this narrative, and he kind of got going. But the point I'm trying to say is that a lot of these guys have to guard the top players on the defense. They have to be Iron Man, meaning they have to play without getting injured, while playing nearly every game, at least for the first 15 years of their career, because that's what LeBron did. They have to score at an amazing clip. They have to assist at an amazing clip. They have to rebound at an amazing clip. They have to do all the things LeBron did, averaging at the very least 25, 7, and 7. These guys are not going to be able to do that. It's too much. LeBron is a one of one. It's too much strain on their bodies. trying to live up to these stupid expectations. And Jason Tatum has tried to live up to these expectations for the last 2 seasons, and it has been absolute hell for him because he cannot live up to those expectations. And I'm not surprised man ended up getting injured because he has to play. Because he sat out, I can't remember what games he sat out in the first series, but it's clearly been something that's been nagging him for a little while. And yet these fans, these rabid fans that they created to where they start attacking people's legacy when they're 22, 23 years old, as if your legacy is set at that age. But they started the precedent with LeBron. LeBron be 24, 25 years old, they talking about his legacy. Just to protect Michael Jordan. And in order to do that, now you've created this situation where you're doing this to these kids, where you have them talking about legacy at 22. Will his legacy ever recover from this? What? He's 22 years old. Of course it will. He has no business being there at this point. He has no business being a champion now. So yes, he will recover. He doesn't. His resume does not have to match LeBron's or Jordan's. But that's the situation they created. Because now when they say a person is better than LeBron, they have to live up to their BS, bullshit stat lines, bullshit attributes that they threw on to LeBron when he was coming up. So now all the LeBron fans are going to say, no, you don't get to say he's better than LeBron. Because this is what you said about LeBron. Is he doing that? No. Okay, no, he's not doing that. So if he's not doing it, you cannot sit up here and tell me that he somehow got your respect LeBron couldn't. See, it don't work like that. So now they're pushed into these holes where they have to try to figure things out and figure a way to make their obvious bias make sense. And it doesn't. Like, wow, I was under the impression that if I did this, no. That's not how it works. You set the standards. You gotta stay loyal to the standards you set. So therefore, you can't say that Jason Tatum has earned your respect if you spent the last 20 years criticizing LeBron, who did way more with way less. Well, at the end of the day, I just don't like the way LeBron did it. He left. Okay. You respect Jason Tatum because he stayed on the same team, but LeBron left. But Jason Tatum team has afforded him several All-Stars that are amazing, great players. What did the Cavs give LeBron? It don't matter. You should stay. Okay. So if LeBron would have stayed and he would have not won anything, you would have respected that? No, you wouldn't have. You would have criticized him. You would have pointed out that he could never win anything, and that if he was great, he would win anyways, even though he didn't have a Pippen, because he was never going to be as bad as the Bulls were with Jordan. The reason why they were able to get Pippen is because the Bulls were terrible. The Cavs were never going to be terrible with LeBron. They were never going to be picking in the top 5. They were always going to be picking at the low end of the first half. Low end, the last high first round. That was as early as they're going to get, because LeBron was always going to have that team at least at 60 to 70 wins, somewhere between 60 and 70 wins. So he was not going to get anybody that was going to be able to step in and be a generational talent. He wasn't going to get a Kevin Durant. He wasn't going to get a Paul George. He was never going to get anybody like that because he was too great too early. So therefore, you had to wait. He had to wait on free agency, which he did. And the year that he wanted all these stars to come, Carmelo Anthony re-signed the year before, so he didn't leave. Chris Bosh wanted to go to Miami. Wade wanted to stay in Miami, and that's where they stayed. So it was never a situation. It was never a discussion about whether or not LeBron James and Kevin Durant, LeBron James could have stayed. It was never a thing. He was never going to be able to stay on that team. if you thought it was bad now you add Bosh and Wade on the Heat when Wade was already a thorn in LeBron's side. Now you just added Bosh to that scenario, and they had money for a third, so they could have ended up getting Amari Stoudemire as well. They could have, because they still had room for another big time player. So you don't know anything about anything. Why don't he stay on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have shown him no? He had Boozer. They made the dumbest. Made the dumbest decision you can make. Let him out of his contract with a handshake. The man ended up leaving and then not re-signing with them. So that ended up screwing up the team before that. And he was the last almost all-star they had. And he was before LeBron. So you ask yourself a serious question. J.J. Hickson? Mo Williams? That's the guy he should have stayed for. Everybody leaves out the point that the minute LeBron left that team, they went from being a 60 to 70 win team to a bottom feeder, one player, not multiple, one player. LeBron is the only person that left the Cavs. They went from the top seed or top two seeds to the bottom of the league. One player. The Bulls, without Jordan, nowhere near that. Still were at the top of the league. So you cannot make the argument that, like right now, the Celtics have lost Jason Tatum. They still have more than enough to compete against the Knicks, even without Tatum. That's how many all-stars and great players they have. That even without Jason Tatum, they can still compete. You can't make that argument about the Cavs. You can't, or most of the teams LeBron's on. Everybody keeps bringing up Bosh and Wade. Okay, and that's great, but again, Bosh was always hurt, so it was. Calling him a big three, it to me is a rewriting of history, because they weren't no big three. Chris Bosh almost never played. He was always injured. Always sitting out series, almost never played. So yes, Chris Bosh was there, but he was not reliable, which showed through again. The minute LeBron left, all of a sudden Chris Bosh couldn't play. I mean, he was injured, so he was gone. But D Wade and the rest of them were there. Bottom feeders. They were terrible. Not to mention, they were not a great team before LeBron got there. LeBron got on the Heat. They were not. I think they barely made the playoffs. So let's rewind our gears and try to make and make this make sense. LeBron did with not the greatest of casts, right? LeBron took the Cavs to the finals his last year in Cleveland before he went to the Lakers. Took them to the finals. The year after that, again they were picking in the lottery. Finals, lottery. Finals, lottery. One player. So you can kick and you scream, but nobody's going to be able to live up to that type of expectation, because the guys even now are surrounded by a plethora of talent. Giannis is a great player, and he's probably the closest one that you could say to. If you took him off the team, they'd probably go from being the top to one of the worst. But even now, they're not even the top. They're like a middling 3 or 4 seed. LeBron wasn't there when he was playing for the Cavs. In Miami, his teams were up, were top teams when he was Giannis's age. So I guess but Giannis is the closest. You take Jason Tatum off the Celtics. Are they in the lottery? No. You take Jokic off the Nuggets. Are they in the lottery? No. You take Anthony Edwards off the Timberwolves. Are they in the lottery? Probably not. Close, but probably not. So I'm saying a lot of these players are great players. Don't get me wrong. I'm just simply pointing out that that in order for these people to understand, in order for these people to be able to make a astute comparison, they got to understand what these players are both dealing with, and they're not dealing with, and the comparisons they're dealing with are not the same. The Jordans and the Kobes didn't have to deal with that. Kobe was never compared to Jordan until way later in his career. Early in his career, nobody was calling Kobe the Jordan with the expectation that he was going to reach Jordan's height. And he never did. Let's be frank. He never did reach Jordan's heights. He was just a player who played with an extremely good player in Shaq at a very young age, which allowed him to be put in the spotlight. Same spotlight that Penny Hardaway was in when he had Shaq. So nobody really looked at Kobe like he was this amazing player when him and Shaq were dominating the league. And then he never dominated the league when he was the number one. He had 2 championships, yes, with the Lakers, but they were not dominant by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't really look at that. And they were way at the end of his career. When he was supposedly the best player in the league, I don't think, which was only like a year or 2 span, that's not enough to compare him to LeBron or any of the greats, let alone, because most of the greats had a longer window of dominance. The Magics, the Birds, the Wilt Chamberlains, the Lou Alcindors, they had longer periods of time where they were considered the best players in the league. Dr. J, Oscar Robertson, they were considered the best player in the league for long periods of time. Kobe might have been considered the best player in the league for a year or 2. A year or 2, maybe 3. So it's not a knock to say that Kobe, to me, is maybe top 15 player, but he's not a top 10 player. But regardless of that, the reason why I'm saying that is because everybody keeps making this assumption and this assertion that everybody had to live up to these standards. And no, they didn't. They didn't have to live up to these stupid standards that these people created, that nobody else believed and nobody else thought but the Jordan fans. So now the Jordan fans are making it hard for other people, because you have the LeBron fans who are going to say, no, you said LeBron had to do this, so you got to stick to that. And the Jordan fans are now saying, once you don't beat LeBron, that they can't back you anymore, because now they can't use you against LeBron. So it's a bad situation for most players to be in. Until Jordan fans leave the league, or age out, I think it's always going to be harder for the younger generation. The Jordan fans, to me, are delusional. They're always around making these mythical lies, like when Charles Barkley said, "I never lost by 30 in a playoff game." Come to find out, he lost by 40. But that's what they do. Once they think they can throw time is like dirt. They can throw on the truth, and they think people won't dig and find it. But no, people will dig and find it. And Jordan is not this mythical person y'all think he is, and this lofty expectation that y'all have for him. Nobody's gonna live up to, and he never lived up to. But regardless, another person has been crushed by the crown. Please comment. Let me know what y'all think. Thumbs it up if you like it. And if you're not subscribed, what you doing? Subscribe. All right, y'all. Peace.